It's another Raw video from your favorite YouTube scout, Draft Raw Authentic. Yes, I am finally here making another video, and like I said, it's a raw one, so there will be no edits. Now, I'm finally back, people, finally making another video. Like I said, you know, a lot of stuff been going on through my life. I've said it in previous videos. Got work, got school, and got the newborn baby that's yesterday turned 4 weeks. So, you know, it's a lot going on, so I'm not able to make as many videos as I like, but here we go with this one. And this video is going to be about, was I wrong? Now, it's not going to be a series, it's just going to be this one video of, was I wrong? And was I wrong it's pretty much going to be about, was I wrong about certain prospects in this draft class? Now, I'm not going to go through with a lot of big and different stats that would, you know, help support anything or anything like that. I'm going to just give my opinion on if I was wrong about certain prospects that other people were big on and I wasn't. So the first name that we're going to start with is LA Chargers, Derwin James. Was I wrong about Derwin James? Now, what I said about Derwin James is he is I felt as though he had the chance to being the biggest bust from the Chargers draft class in terms of their first three rounds, the guys that they drafted, or 4 rounds, the guys that 3-4 rounds that they drafted. And the reason being is because it was going to be based on how would they use him. Now, the way that they actually used him this past year was the correct way to use him, the right way that I felt as though they should use him. And that's being a strong safety. That is being a guy that basically plays in a box. There was certain things that he actually surprised me with. There were certain plays that I saw where he dropped deep in coverage to make the play on the ball, whether if it was a pass deflection or an interception. He did those type of things. He had a good amount of sacks. He had, the interceptions were up there, everything. He made the plays that I thought that he should make if you play him at the right position. He wasn't the deep range free safety that some people thought that he could play. He was the strong safety that he's supposed to be. His greatest attribute to me, though, was his man coverage ability in the slot. He was one of the few safeties I've ever seen that could actually cover man-to-man, whether it was slot receivers, tight ends, or running backs in the slot. It's amazing to see him actually do that for a guy his size. He's about 6'2", around 210, 215, and he's able to move almost like a corner. Reminds you a little bit of Jalen Ramsey in terms of when Jalen Ramsey came out, I thought Jalen Ramsey will probably play better as a safety than he has as a corner. Now, he's played really, really good as a safety. He's actually as a corner, and he's actually one of the top corners in the NFL. But, it shows a lot because both of those players are both from Florida State. They're both around the same size, but I feel as though they both can do the exact same things, even though one guy may be just a little bigger than Derwin James than Jalen Ramsey, but they remind me of each other because they're such dogs, and they're so aggressive, and the way that they play the game, they can do some things that other players can't do, especially at the size that they have. And even at guys that's not even that size, they can't even do that type of stuff. So with Derwin James, was I wrong? I would say that no, I was not wrong about Derwin James. Yes, I did pick him as being possibly a bust as a first-round pick. But when it all comes together, what I thought that he could do and who I thought that he was, no, I was not wrong. Now, we're going to go to Calvin Ridley. Was I wrong about Calvin Ridley? No, I was not wrong about Calvin Ridley. And the reason why I was not wrong about Calvin Ridley is because I feel as though with having Julio Jones on the other side of him as a as the number one receiver, this is a guy that, it helps him out a lot. It helps out Mohamed Sanu. It helped out other receivers that have been in the Falcons system over the years and stuff like that. When you have a Julio Jones, that is that big-time guy that's probably the best receiver in the league, not named Antonio Brown. So when it comes down to it, I don't think I was totally wrong about Calvin Ridley. I know Calvin Ridley, I'm trying to look at the stats. I did his Week 12 stats. Like I said, I didn't want to put some stats out there, but in the first 12 weeks, he had 47 receptions, 625 yards, 8 touchdowns. He didn't actually record a touchdown. After he got 8 within the first half of the year, he didn't record another touchdown. Or at least I don't believe he did. If he did, then it was like 1 or 2. But I don't believe he actually recorded another touchdown. Obviously, he probably definitely had over 700, 800 yards. I expect over 50 receptions. But there was also a game where there was a couple of games in the second half where he didn't actually affect anything. And what I'm saying is that people thinking that Calvin Ridley was like a number one type of receiver was going to be sadly mistaken. Calvin Ridley is a glorified slot guy, and I think that he can be an upper echelon number 2 type of receiver, but to count on him to be your number one guy, to say that, okay, this is the guy that I'm going to throw the ball to on 4th down and 50% of the time at least, and that's a high percentage when it comes to that, 50, 60, 70% of the time, he's going to come down with the football. He's going to make that play. When I need that touchdown, he's going to make that play. I don't think Calvin Ridley is that guy. I think that Calvin Ridley is just a product of being on a team that has good receivers on the outside, and he gets to always get one-on-one matchups, whether it's from a slot corner or a safety, or sometimes you can be in a zone coverage and a linebacker has to cover you. He gets the advantage of having to go against those type of players than to having to go against the true corners, the true, like, not even just number one, but the starting corners. He gets the chance to go against the backups, like the real backups. You see what I'm saying? So, was I wrong about Calvin Ridley? I will say this. I will leave it up. I'm just going to leave it up. I don't think I was wrong, but maybe I'm not right. I could not be right for what I'm saying right now, but this is just what I've seen. And if you really pay close attention to how Calvin Ridley played for the Falcons this year, you'll probably say the same thing. So then the next guy on this list is Saquon Barkley. Was I wrong about Saquon Barkley? Yes. Yes, I was wrong. I was about to say no, and then, you really have to think about it. Yes, I was wrong. Now, there's still, games to be played in terms of future games years down the road. The thing that I didn't like about Saquon is that I didn't think he was tough. I thought that he tried to avoid a bunch of hits in college, and I felt as though when it came to fighting for extra yardage, he didn't do it. And then I thought that when he got tackled, I'll have to say 70% of the time, 80% of the time, he didn't fall forward. With guys like Darius Geis and Nick Chubb, who we've seen always falling forward, Gus Edwards that played for the Baltimore Ravens, he falls forward. When it came to a guy like Saquon, he didn't fall. He does, in college, he didn't fall forward a lot, and that was my biggest concern when it came to Saquon. And I was wrong about Saquon. I wasn't the biggest fan of him, but I was wrong about him. And the thing I was right about is his stats. I did predict that he would have a bunch of yardages, a bunch of yards. When it came to rushing and receiving, I think I predicted that he wouldn't have 1,000 rushing yards, or maybe I can't remember exactly what I said. I have to go back and watch that video anyway, but it don't matter. But he did his thing, and he's a guy that through 12 weeks, just looking at these stats, he has 71 receptions already. So it's one of those things where I predicted that he was going to be a running back that was going to have the receiving and the rushing stats. And he was going to have about 1,100 yards. We can look at his stats. And I don't want to put it on for stats, but what I felt as though he was going to be for the New York Giants and as a rookie. So now we have to see, can he carry it over for years to come? So right now I'm wrong. I'm completely wrong about Saquon Barkley, but we'll see. Maybe it does revert back to what I saw in college, and you may start looking at him different, but like I said, I could be completely wrong about him. I was the type of dude, for whatever reason, I wasn't an Ezekiel Elliott guy, and he turned out to be, he's one of the best running backs in the league. So, when it comes to running backs, can't always listen to me. But I was a big fan of Nick Chubb, and Nick Chubb has turned out to be pretty well. So I'm gonna be wrong, but I'm gonna be right sometimes too. So it is what it is. The next person on my list, I'm gonna just go through quickly. Sony Michel. He played way better than what I probably thought he would. I thought the knee injury would be something that would hurt him. And you know, it was just kind of a, you're either a Nick Chubb or Sony Michel guy, so it really wasn't a big thing. I wasn't like too down on him. I wasn't saying he was going to suck or anything like that. It's just that when it comes down to it, I just, you know, I just kind of chose one guy over the other. Dante Jackson, cornerback, LSU, who got drafted by the Carolina Panthers in the second round. He started off really, really well. I actually do not know how he's done in the second half of the season. I know that he had some really good games in the beginning of the year that showed up like, yeah, he was going to be a really good player. So the team in general for the Carolina Panthers actually played, you know, kind of bad. So I actually didn't watch a lot of Panthers games, period. I don't watch a lot of other games. I try to get my information from just looking at stuff, reading up on a couple things here and there, maybe looking at some stats to see what happens. Sometimes, you know, what can happen is that you can just hear the hearsay from a person that's actually watching these games. And so when it comes to Dante Jackson, I wasn't the biggest fan of him, and if I was wrong or right about him, I would say it's inconclusive. I would with just like a Calvin Ridley, it's inconclusive. It's not that I was right or it's not that I was wrong. It's just very inconclusive because, like Calvin Ridley, is a good first half of the season, and then the second half he doesn't really do as much as he probably, you know, was doing in the beginning of the year. And the last person on this list, I'm gonna actually go with Denzel Ward. And if you notice how all of these guys I'm talking about controversial stars that kind of proved me wrong a little bit. That's why I start off with Derwin James and stuff like that. But Denzel Ward is that last guy on this list. Was I wrong? Yes, I was kind of wrong. I did like his natural cover ability from Denzel Ward, but I think that overall when it came to Ward, it was just something about him as a player that that kind of swindled me to say that, you know, he wasn't going to be that great of a player. And I think it had a little bit to do with his size, and I think it had a little bit to do with there was certain plays that he had in college where he was getting beat on, and I was thinking, you know, if you're a top corner in the draft, you can't get beat on a lot of plays. So I was a Mike Hughes guy. I was a huge, you know, draft Mike Hughes or Jair Alexander, who overall those two guys, Mike Hughes played really, really well before he got injured and out for the season, and Jair Alexander was a guy that got hurt during the season, but when he finally came back, he was the best cornerback for the Green Bay Packers. So it was one of those things where I was a bigger fan of those two guys of being the top corners than I was for a Denzel Ward. And we'll see when time blows over, when time comes. You know, I could be right about Denzel Ward. He may not be as good as what we think. And honestly, it's one of those situations where we all know it. Sometimes players come as rookies and they play really, really well, and then for the rest of their career they don't do that good. They may have one or two good seasons, and then it's not good. You know, they're just not as good as you thought they would be. So overall, I think that when it comes to was I right about any of these prospects, I was honestly going to do separate videos for this, but I just said, let me just put all this together. But basically, when it comes down to it, was I right? I think that I did a good job in terms of what I saw and what I scouted. There was some stuff I was wrong about, but there was stuff I was right about. But I did put a disclaimer on a lot of these other guys. One guy I didn't was Dante Jackson, but I put a disclaimer on a lot of the other players to really kind of push forth my message of was I right about any of these players and what I saw when it came to them playing in college. So anyway, once again, this is Draft Raw Authentic. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed and you want to see more videos. Please hit that like button. Please share this video. I love you guys. Anybody that sits there is new subscribers, come subscribe to me. I love you guys. Keep supporting. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.